Start with the Mangalachan. Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Supadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utpatakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sakrajatam Sagunaragunatam Litam Kamsajitam Sadvaitam Savadurvam Parijanasaikam Krishna Chaitanya Sri Radha Padan Sagunalalita Sri Vishaka Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Parange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishwanam Sate Devi Pranama Hari Krishna Manchapalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyev cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaurabhaktananda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Nama Om Shivadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaha Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauru विशेषशृण्वदि पश्चामि कारणेन. Okay, thank you very much for joining. So I think the impetus of this is twofold. One is that as you know, we'll be traveling for most of February, and the desire is to continue with the Bhakti Vriksha. Also, beyond February, I think the desire is to share the speakers. I don't know what the cadence will be. We can work on it together. But just so that the devotees have an opportunity to hear from, so everybody gets their own unique perspective, their own particular flavor of a devotional service. So good for the devotees to hear that also. So with that in mind, I thought it'd be good to have a little bit of a formal discussion on this topic of teaching, giving classes. So the material for this is different sources. Earlier on, when I started giving classes at the temple, and this is now going back to the 90s, I had attended classes by Braj Bihari Prabhu and Anuttama Prabhu. Braj Bihari Prabhu on art of communication. I'm sorry, Anuttama Prabhu on communication, Braj Bihari Prabhu on giving classes. And material is from there, from the experience that I have myself gathered. Also, there is a seminar by Radhika Raman Prabhu on giving classes. So I use that also to structure the format. So hopefully this will be interactive, discussion oriented, and looking forward to an engaging session. Let me share the PowerPoint.
I don't see the live thing. So let me put you live here then.
It's mostly PowerPoint, so this will not be much benefit then.
So then how will the others learn the Ramkatha?
It's going on YouTube.
I saw it, I checked.
No, I can see it over there. It's going on YouTube.
I saw it is live streaming. It was showing up on the.
Prabhu, which channel is it showing live stream?
Doesn't say anything channel, but it just say you are in live stream.
On the Bhayahari. Okay. So, giving classes, let's first talk about the elephant in the room. If you can all see, there is a place where you can raise your hands to speak. So it'd be good if you can raise your hands when you desire to speak. So when somebody asks you to give a lecture, whether it's in the temple or to a bhakti workshop, to an informal group, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? What's your first reaction?
Like, I'm not ready, say.
I'm not ready. Thank you. Okay. Prabhupada, Prabhu, go ahead.
Sorry, Prabhu.
Yeah, Prabhuji, I feel the other person who is asking is showering his mercy, and it's for the purification of the person who's requested to speak.
Okay. Sign of mercy. Thank you. Adi Govind Prabhu.
Oh, wow. This is a fantastic opportunity for me to showcase what I've learned.
Okay. Okay.
Like
Very
more
good.
of pride.
Very good. Padmini Radha?
I have my fears, Prabhu. So I think the first thought that comes to my mind is fear. And I feel that I'm not learned at all in Shastras, so I don't know what to speak of.
Fear. Okay. Sachijeevan?
Sorry, Prabhu, I was talking. So, Prabhu, it's kind of a combination. The first up thing is it's a great opportunity to serve Guru Maharaj or our senior Vaishnavas who expect us to preach. But at the same time, it gives a responsibility to get fully ready, prepared for what we are going to present, what kind of questions may come. So I should get ready. And a little bit nervousness because it's, based on the audience. Sometimes audience, you don't understand, what kind of audience, what kind of questions may come. So a little bit nervousness also comes. So I would say probably a combination of all three. Great opportunity, at the same time, great responsibility. And a little bit nervousness also.
Thank you. Kishore Radha?
Prabhu, I feel that I shouldn't come off as a hypocrite on the Vyasasana. So similar to what Sachijeevan Prabhu said about responsibility, I think I have my fear that what I'm going to say is something I'm not practicing myself.
Okay. Thank you. So yes, I think the dominant emotion that is there is fear. Like they say that for most of the people, the fear of public speaking is very close to the fear of death. Maybe a little bit of an exaggeration, but there is a reluctance, a general reluctance to speak. Will I be able to teach? Right. But I think one of the points was, will I be able to do justice to it? Then am I being arrogant? So when you sit and give a talk and other people sit and listen, there is an implicit contract there that you're teaching them. You know more than they, right? So is there arrogance in my part? What about humility? Should not I be mostly at the serving, at the receiving end? But factually speaking, whether we like it or not, we are all teachers, right? We are teaching our kids. We are at work. We are teaching our colleagues. We are teaching our spouses. We teach our friends and family, and we are teaching ourselves, right? So we may not wear a cave, we will not have a sash, but we are all teachers, and that's an important aspect to recognize that whether we are giving a speech. So this is a Pandal program. Prabhupada is giving a speech to 10,000 people. Whether we are giving a lecture to maybe 50, 60, 100 people, whether we're giving a class to a smaller group of people, whether it's a discussion that is more like 1:2 or 3 people, or whether it's a conversation, which is one-on-one, we are teaching. Right? So the point is that if we accept this, that we are all teachers and then we are all teaching, then formalizing this becomes a lot easier for it. The Hare Krishna movement, the Srila Prabhupada is built on 2 pillars. Right? He built it on Kirtan and he built it on Shastra. And the pillar of Kirtan has been over time strengthened, reinforced. So now it's time to give the same attention to the pillar of Shastra. And that's an important legacy of Srila Prabhupada. Right? Srila Prabhupada was extraordinarily proud of the books. Like we see here, Prabhupada looking at one of the draft copies of his books, and then you can see the smile, the glow on his face, how happy he is. He was extraordinarily pleased about his books. He called them the manuscript for the handbook for the next 10,000 years. He said that he will live on in his books. He said that his disciples have a duty to study and explain the books. Even till very close to his leaving his body, Prabhupada was translating 10th canto, Bhagavatam, 13th chapter, the last chapter that Prabhupada translated, very, very close to the time that he was leaving his body. So, and we know that his daily rigor was, he kept a big chunk of his time, quality time for translations, which he did for us so that we could read. So we need to honor the legacy of Prabhupada. We need to spread the word. Now, even though this is a so to speak a seminar or a class on teaching, but essentially each one of us is unique. Right? So we come with an innate propensity. We have a toolbox. We have a toolbox of different abilities, whether it is the way we speak, the way we explain, the way we understand. So we all come with a toolbox. And even when we are not in the spiritual perspective, right? So the toolbox dictates our karma. Then what is it that we do? Some of us are engineers, some of us are doctors, some of us are scientists. So essentially the toolbox is what we have been born with. It's the combination of the modes, combination of our inherent ability, and then that depends on the work that we do. As one progresses, one makes the karma his dharma, in the sense that it becomes more than just a way to make a living. It actually becomes a duty. And then as one progresses more, it actually becomes seva. So our meditation is to use our innate propensity and take it to this platform of seva, wherein we are using it to to serve Srila Prabhupada, to serve the predecessor acharyas. So the mood of teaching is exemplified in one of these prayers. It's not very popular in ISKCON, but it is very popular in most of the, like if you go to schools like Sanskriti or most of the Hindi schools that are more in Hindi scriptures, it's a very popular prayer. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahe Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidveshavahe Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Right, so it's a very beautiful prayer, and it kind of captures the mood of a teacher and teaching. That may the Lord protect both the teacher and the student. May He nourish us both. May we work together with strength and enthusiasm. May our study be enlightening and meaningful. May we never have hostility towards one another. May there be peace. Right. So this is a meditation that we can have when we are getting ready to, when we are preparing for our lecture. Right. If you see that the mood over here is centered at both the teacher and the student, or the students. Right. It's not a unilateral flow. It is collaborative, it is comprehensive. Similarly, when we do in Gaudiya Vaishnava, we start the prayers, a class with the prayers for prayer. Om Akyanti Manandasya Jnananjana Shalakya. Right, so it's a prayer that says that may we be able to represent Mahaprabhu and Rupa Goswami without any obstacles. So many things that can go wrong in the class, we'll discuss that. And some of them are in our control, some of them not in our control. Right? Even the most well-prepared and well-researched classes can go south because you don't have control on so many variables. So this is a prayer. This is a prayer for empowerment, that may we be able to represent Rupa Goswami, to be able to represent Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then there are other verses also, right, which is invoking the Shad Goswami, is invoking the Panchatattva, then Radha Krishna, and then taking mercy of the Vaishnavas. So a lot of mercy, lot of prayer for mercy, which sets the mood of the speaker. The idea is that when you're sitting on the chair, on the vyasthan of the chair, then you're not sitting alone. There is the whole parampara that is rooting for you, all the way from Krishna. Everybody is rooting for you, right? So it is not. It is, if there is glory, it is not yours, and if there is things that do not work out, then also it is not yours. So before this was kind of the preamble. I wanted, so as I mentioned that I have 3 classes of lectures, maybe little less than 3. The 4th will be each one of you giving a lecture for 15 minutes. So I also wanted to pick a lecture, and that way, as we are going through the topic, you can also start thinking of it. And I mean, not that becomes your exclusive preoccupation, but like they say, doing is the best way of learning. So I have 7 topics here, and I did not assign it to speakers because I figured that you can work it out yourself. So there is the topic, and then there is the audience. The Eating Our Way to Krishna, this is for the Sunday open house. Bhakti Confined with Rules and Regulation, this is for a home program. Balancing Life and Spirituality, this is for a corporate audience. Why only Krishna? So you've been invited by a Hindu Parishad to speak on Krishna. Then facing adversities from a spiritual platform, you've been asked to speak at the. So they have in typical Hindu tradition. They have a ceremony in which some person comes and speaks on a spiritual perspective. What does surrender mean? This is for Bhakti Viksha, and spirituality for success. This is for college students, right? And the reason I've given the audience is because, for obvious reasons, that what you speak and how you speak is predicated on who your audience is. Any questions so far? Okay. So let's get into the kind of the details of giving a class. So one thing we have to understand that giving a class is actually the tip of the iceberg, and it's a relatively smaller link in the whole segment. Right. So I'm using the example of deity worship. So when you look at Hari Bhakti Vilas, it explains deity worship as having 5 angas, like Abhigaman, which is the person getting ready, taking a bath, applying tilak, chanting the mantras. Then Upadan. Upadan is gathering the paraphernalia. Then yoga is meditation on the deity, chanting the mantras. Ijya is the actual deity worship, like when you open the altar, go onto the altar and worship. And Swadhyaya is post deity worship, the study of the scriptures, right? So the deity worship is not just going on the altar and giving and offering the paraphernalia. There are these four aspects that support the deity worship, right? So in the similar way, giving a class is more than just sitting on the Vyasthan and giving a class. So there are 3 aspects of giving a class: intent, content, and present. Right, and that's how I have the 3 sessions. I'll speak about each one of them in one of the sessions, each one of the sessions. So let me pause over here and see if you would like to share your views and what does intent, what do you think intent would entail? Padmini Radha, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I think for me, intent is something that would stay with my audience. So the message that I'm trying to convey, they take home that message and it stays with them. I've had so many. To just give you an example, I've had situations where I've been in lectures and I find something very interesting or appealing, and I come home and I share with the children or with Adi Govind. So I think if your talk could do that, then your intent is, for me, that is a checkbox for conveying the intent.
Very good. Thank you so much. Rup Raghunath?
Prabhuji, I was thinking same, but I was also thinking maybe how can, what is the audience, and with whatever we are trying to speak or pass the message of Srila Prabhupada, how can we bring the audience closer to Krishna? In whatever stage of life they are, from there itself, how can they connect to Krishna?
Very nice. Thank you. Sachijiva?
Prabhu, I was also thinking the same line that what we want to convey to the audience, looking at the audience, what the message that we want to communicate ultimately, and maybe as Padmini Radha Mataji mentioned, some of the key things what we want them to take away after that. I mean, through the sessions.
Very good, very good. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Also, I would like to add something.
Mhm.
Intent, it should be based on the goal rather than vision. If we'll say Krishna consciousness, it's a broader, perspective. Goal of this class, as you categorize, for Sunday open house, something on topic wise, for college students, for grihastha, for, if we would be prepared, intent of any class should be what exactly this class should cover, and what should be output, in a sense, like Padmanabha mentioned. The class is not only a class, as you mentioned, it should also captivate, the audience in a way, but that depends upon the speaker. So the goal is, the topic should be well conveyed to the audience. At the same time, it should have the base of Prabhupada, the Shastra, and all these, our Krishna consciousness, and there should be some output.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, good. Thank you. Karunatha Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances, you and all the devotees. I'm sorry I joined 10 minutes late. I drove back from New Jersey. But yes, Prabhu, I was thinking that intent for me, it means that, what is my motivation in giving this class? Is my goal to serve myself somehow? Or is it to bring the audience closer to Krishna in some way, in whatever way I happen to be able to serve them through that medium of sharing something with them from Shastra.
Very good. Thank you, Prabhu. Laddu Gopal Prabhu?
Yeah, for me, intent is more like sharing, and also like simultaneously learning, not just teaching the class, but also getting experience of the devotees. So the main intent is service attitude in that sense, and try to be bring devotees as close to Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Rup Raghunath Prabhu?
Krishna Prabhuji. I think the same thing that Laddu Gopal touched upon, the service attitude, and also somebody endowed this service to you. Like when we do duty worship, we say we are doing it on behalf of our Guru Maharaj. We are representing a bigger sampradaya. So important goal is that go full prepared and do justice to the opportunity that you have gotten.
Very good. Thank you, Prabhu. Kishori Radha?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. For me, Prabhu, intent, I share the same points that everybody else mentioned, but also I feel that intent to me is to invigorate the minds of the audience and to perhaps leave them with some questions or doubts, something to get them thinking.
Very nice. Thank you. So, when we are asked to present something, one of the first things that we start doing is looking outwards, right? That what is the audience? What is the topic? How do I connect with them? How do I get them closer to Prabhupada? Which is all a significant part of giving the class, but the journey starts from within. That before we can speak, we should make ourselves qualified to speak. Right. So the intent is standing in for intention. That what is the consciousness that we would like to develop before we even accept and an engagement to speak. If the intent is aligned, then 90% of the work is done. I would say 99% of the work is done. And while we do speak a lot about techniques of presenting and engaging the audience, and or let me give an example of Prabhupada giving classes. I was listening to a podcast of Mukund Maharaj. Well, it was Mukund Maharaj was the guest. It was not his podcast, and he was sharing the earlier days of ISKCON. And at one point, he said that I really did not understand a lot of what Prabhupada spoke. He had a thick Bengali accent. He had the habit of speaking a lot of these verses in between, and I couldn't, even though he said I had some background, I couldn't really understand what was going on. And then the person asked him that, but you pretty much dedicated your life to him. And he said, yes, because he impressed me so much. There was something about him that made me want to follow. So now we can't be Prabhupada, but we can follow in his footstep. So the intent is essentially pointing to the consciousness of the speaker, right? And I've divided it into 5 parts, and we'll speak briefly about each one of them. So all of this was spoken by one or more of you, in different aspects of intention, mood of service, not making it about yourself, humility, agenda, character. So let's dig a little bit deeper into these 5 aspects of intent. So how do we make giving a class in a mood of service? By understanding that this is what would please Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj, right? So if we give a class in this mood that we are serving the instructions of our predecessor acharyas, then so what happens when you serve your Guru Maharaj? The reciprocation is that you get mercy. And that's how this works. So when we give a class in this mood, that this is a mood of service, Mahaprabhu says, Jare dekho tare ko Krishna upadesh, Amar agya guru hona tare desh, right? Whoever you see, give the instructions of Krishna, right? And if that's not enough, then he says, Amar agya guru hona. By my order, become a spiritual master and tare desh, and liberate this country. Now, the interesting thing is that who was the recipient of this instruction? Right, very ordinary Kurma Brahman, right? He was not a big philosopher, not a great speaker. He was a grahastha. He got attracted to Mahaprabhu. He said, "I'll follow you." Mahaprabhu said, "You don't have to follow me. Just stay over here and preach." And he said, "How can I preach? I have no qualification. I have no spiritual knowledge." And then Prabhupada said, and Mahaprabhu says, "Call Krishna Upadesh. Like whatever you hear, you simply say that." Right? So Dharma Swana Sutta Pumsham. So this is our Sutta Goswami saying, Vishvak Sena Katha Suya Napadev Yadirati Shrameva Hi Kevalam. Right? So I previously said that we are all teachers. At different aspects, we are teaching, right? So whether it is our karma, dharma, we are teaching. But by the instructions of the Bhagavatam, if we are able to align this in Vishwaksenu Kathasuya, right? That we are able to attract the message of the personality of Godhead. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Evam parampara praptam imam rajasya vidu sakalina mata yoga nashta parantapa. So we represent the disciplic succession. We represent the link in the parampara. So how important it is that when the link was broken, then Krishna came himself. So when we take initiation, when we take our vows, then we are also accepting this service, that we will continue to execute the duties of the parampara, to receive the instructions and to transmit them, right? So the first part of the intent is service to the instructions of the acharya. Then service to humanity, right? So one of the most important things in giving a class is to understand that it is not about Krishna. It is not, or let me ask you, or maybe I'll just in the interest of time, if one person can tell me, who is the class all about, or what is the class all about?
The needs of the audience.
The audience. Yes. So it's not about Krishna, it's not about how much you know, it's not about Bhagavad Gita, it's not about or, all your accomplishments. There is only one objective of the class: understand the needs of the audience. Right? Now, while we are saying service to the humanity, not all of us have that Shakti that we can speak to 10,000 people. Maybe based on our level of advancement, 5 people, 10 people, 50 people, that's humanity. That's humanity for us. Prahlad Maharaj gives this instructions, and actually there could be this particular verse could be a whole class in itself, where he says that, my dear young friends born of demons, please act in such a way that the Supreme Lord, who is beyond the conception of material knowledge, will be satisfied. Give up your demoniac nature and act without enmity and duality. Show mercy to all living entities by enlightening them in devotional service, thus becoming their well-wishers. The last line is one that is relevant. So Prahlad Maharaj is speaking to those who are demoniac. Right? He says, my young friends born of demons. So he's born in a very materialistic sense. Teaching means giving up that mentality. Right? Just like they say that when there is light, there can't be darkness. When there is service, there cannot be envy. When there is teaching, this mentality automatically goes out. And enmity and duality are replaced with mercy. Right? So the glory of teaching is that the Supreme Lord will be satisfied. And so when we serve the audience, that service attracts the mercy of the Supreme Lord. And Krishna says so himself in Bhagavad Gita, right? For one who explains this supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed. And at the end, he will come back to me. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, and nor will there ever be one more dear. So many superlatives Krishna has put in there to glorify those who are serving others by this process, right? So our when we are preparing our consciousness to give a class, then this should be dominant. That how can I serve you? Some quotes from Prabhupada. To spread Krishna consciousness is the best welfare activity of the human society. One who has understood the philosophy must preach. Otherwise, he has not understood. If you actually love Krishna, you must teach others about Krishna. Everyone should become a spiritual master and try to liberate everyone in his neighborhood. We should not become falsely silent. We must speak for Krishna. Preaching is the essence. By preaching, one becomes purified. Okay. Second part, the intent is not about me. So this is a point I made, is that when we start to prepare for teaching in general or giving a class, important to take yourself out from the center. Important not to be obsessed with what will they think of me, and will they glorify my diction, my vocabulary, my command on the verses. It's important to keep all that out. These are some they're kind of humorous anecdotes. Chamar Seva, Meva. This was shared by the devotee himself. So I feel that I think it is Madhudesha Prabhu. He was doing Chamar Seva. He was doing the Chamar for Prabhupada in the Radha Damodar temple. And he had this way of flicking the chamar to make it look very elegant, the strokes. The chamar would swirl and whirl. And there was a fly sitting on Prabhupada's forehead, and it just stayed there because he was focusing so much on the artistry of the chamar. And then finally, Prabhupada looked at him and said, "Get somebody with intelligence to do the chamar." So if it's not serving the purpose, then regardless of what the optics are, it's useless. Similarly, Pujari's seva, that, Pujari's on the altar, there are, this is of course Barshana, but even smaller temples, the Pujari is on the altar, and there are hundreds of people, and they are giving obeisances to the deities, or everybody's focused on the altar, and the Pujari thinks everybody's looking at me. And really speaking, nobody's looking at the Pujari, right? And sometimes the Pujari get too much obsessed with I'm on the altar, everybody's looking at me, so they start doing very elaborate paraphernalia offerings, etc. So really speaking, if you ask the people later on, a lot of them will not even remember who the Pujari is. And that's the way it should be, right? The focus should be on the deity. Fly on the crown, this is a more Western story about a fly that got onto the crown of a king, and all the people were giving hail the emperor, and the fly was like, everybody is bowing in front of me, until one of the ministers saw it and swatted it and killed it. So this whole thing. So don't make the talk about yourself. It's not about your experience, not about your erudition, not about your feelings, not about your rhetoric, not anything about you. Right? Now, this doesn't mean that you do not speak about your experience or your feelings, or you speak in a palatable way, but that's not the center of it. These are all supporting anchors, right? So I remember I was once asked to give in a seminar, I was asked to give a class in Gita Nagari. And it so happened the topic was one of the topic on which I was kind of meditating. So I had compiled a list of verses. And then I said, oh, this is very good. So I went to the class, and I basically, the class was just a rendition of the verses that I had studied about them. And there were 0 questions after the class. And I could see that after the first 5 minutes, people were least interested, right? So nobody was really interested in hearing all the verses that I had memorized, right? So it's not that you do not use that toolkit, but the class is not about it. The class is all about the audience. What do they need? What is their interest? What is their concerns? How to empathize with them. That should be front and forward in our consciousness. So a speaker is like a frame that supports the painting. Not that the frame becomes the center of attention, right? So always maintain focus on the text. Everything else, the anecdotes, the humor, the realizations should support it, right? So when somebody looks at a painting, then the frame, even though the frame is holding up the painting, but the frame is in the background, right? The attention is on the painting. So that should be our consciousness. The attention is on the audience. The attention is on what we are giving to the audience. Everything else, all the verses that you speak, all the jokes that you tell, everything else is just framing the primary concern. We should not become Romaharshans, right? So you know the past member Romaharshan that before Sutta Goswami, he was appointed as the speaker of the Bhagavatam. And Lord Balram, he happened to be there, so he entered into the assembly. And everybody stood to give respect to him with the exception of Romaharshi. And Lord Balram took a blade of grass and killed him. He pierced his heart and killed him. So the reason Lord Balram killed him was because he did not understand this basic principle. So Romaharshan, the reason he did not stand up was because when a person is sitting on the seat, he is representing Srila Vyasadeva, right? And he is not expected to stand up. But when the personality of Godhead comes in, then there are no rules and regulations that apply at that time. Right? Srila Prabhupada entered the temple room, a pujari was on the altar and gave obeisance to Prabhupada and continued with the seva. And later on, I said, did I make a mistake? Prabhupada said, no, we did not make a mistake. So the focus is not me. If the focus becomes, if we are giving a class, preparing for a class, and somehow our focus is becoming me, time to chant a few rounds and then start preparing for it again. So the third part is humility, and sometimes we confuse low self-esteem with humility, right? So low self-esteem results in fear, humility, and fearlessness. Low self-esteem, it obscures our self-assessment. Humility, it is a pragmatic evaluation. Low self-esteem results in attitude, humility, and gratitude. Low self-esteem is I cannot do this. Humility is I am not doing this. Low self-esteem is thinking less of yourself. Humility is thinking less about yourself. So fake humility is the highest form of arrogance, right? And we all have experience with it, sometimes in ourselves, sometimes others, where we see that, sometimes people, they're so cloyingly humble until the rubber hits the road, and then it's a different mood. So real humility is presenting the words of the predecessor acharyas without any personal motivation. So I remember there was one class that I was attending, and at the end of the class, normally the people, they go around, very good class, very good class. At the end of the class, this person said, well, Srila Prabhupada does a good work, does a good job in presenting but it needs to be curated, condensed properly before it is presented nicely. So that kind of a mood, as soon as I heard it, I got, I kind of disconnected with the speaker. Of course, it was too late because it was after the class. But that kind of the mood is one that disconnects the speaker from the audience because the mercy is no longer flowing in. Right. So as soon as you start thinking that you know more than your Guru Maharaj, you know more than Srila Prabhupada, your ability to give a class is already gone. Right? Regardless of anything else that follows. Right. So anchoring ourselves in this mood that we are simply reflecting what has been given to us. Important for humility is, this is a practical aspect of humility, is feedback. So I remember I used to attend Braj Bihari Prabhu's Srimad Bhagavatam reading, and I forget the specifics. I think it was some pastime that I felt required substantive discussion, and Braj Bihari Prabhu, he covered it in like 5 minutes and moved on. So I was a little disappointed. So he used to send this email saying that next class is on Sunday or whatever. And I replied to him saying, Prabhu, I think this topic requires more discussion. I don't think you did a good job, something like that. I forget exactly what I wrote, but something to that effect. What I didn't realize was that I accidentally sent it to the whole distribution list. It was supposed to be just between me and him, but there were like 300 people in the distribution list. It went to everyone. And I was completely mortified when I found out. I immediately called him and I said that, Prabhu, I'm really sorry. I didn't realize it was going to this distribution list. And he said this same. He said, feedback is breakfast of the champions. And he said, he was actually very, very positive about it. Sachidanand Maharaj mentions that that asking people for feedback is very difficult, right? Because it is difficult to be objective about oneself, but it is also difficult to take other person's feedback. I give a class, I think I did a great job. Somebody else comes to me and says, Prabhu, you spoke too long on this topic. And in my mind, I think, what does this person know? Right. So taking feedback and objectively processing it is very difficult. Sachidanand Maharaj says that if you have to nourish your humility, make a habit of getting feedback. Now, this is not just in the context of giving classes, but he was speaking about life in general, spiritual life in general. That keep a sangha of people that you can trust. And sometimes people give superficial feedback, but people that are close to you, they will give you honest feedback, accept their praise and criticism. And then over time, you will learn to distill between courtesy feedback and genuine feedback. Right? Somebody will say, yeah, you gave a good class, and somebody will say, you gave a good class, but these are the things that you can improve on. And if all else fails, trust your spouse. Your spouse will always give you good feedback, mostly negative, but good feedback. Right? So important to solicit it, and not on a general basis, but on a specific basis. Like anytime you give a class, solicit feedback after that, right? Because general feedback tends to veer more towards devotees are by general nature kind, but specific feedback, I gave a class just now. What do you think about it? Right. That's when you will get the real pulse. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question. What is the similarity between these two pictures?
Conveying a message like Hanuman conveying message of Ram and Prabhupada conveying
I
message.
can't hear you, Mataji.
Prabhu maybe conveying message of Supreme, maybe Master. Here Hanuman is conveying message of Ram, and Prabhupada is conveying message of his
Very
Guru
good.
Krishna.
Very good. Karnataka?
Yes, Prabhu, I was just thinking the mood of service, maybe. Both of them are serving their Lord.
Yeah. So actually, this picture I took off this last week was Rampad Maharaj's Vyas Puja, and he had it in his background. He had this, and they were kind of side by side. I spread them, and like Mataji said, this is as it is. So when Hanuman gave the message to Sita Devi, he gave the message as it is to her. Right now, very important to see what does as it is mean. Right, Krishna Prabhupada also yathartham. Right, he gave Bhagavad Gita as it is, but one can and people have commented on it, but he wrote a commentary that's his personal motivation, and he translated everything to bhakti. How is it as it is? So let's see, how did Hanuman give the message to Sita Devi, right? So the essence of the message that Lord Ram gave to Sita Devi is that I'm missing you. You are in my thoughts all the time. I will come and I will rescue you. Right. So he gave that message with zero changes. But did he stop at that? No. He burned Lanka. Ram didn't ask Hanuman to burn Lanka. Right? He burned Lanka. We also see that he tried to convince Sita Devi that why don't you climb on my shoulders? I'll take you back. Right? Ram didn't ask him to do that. So does it mean that he failed his duty as a messenger? Did he violated the code of a messenger? No, because he understood the mood of Lord Ram and expanded on it. So when we give a class, there should be no hidden agenda. Very, very important. We should not. So if you're giving like I'll give you an example that once Rampal Maharaj was asked to give a class, and this is during the Turley case, and the temple president, so I was there at the time, I heard the conversation. The temple president came to him and said that we are all collecting funds to pay off the Turley case, so can you align the class in that direction? Now it's an uncomfortable thing, right? Asking people to give money. People will give money for deity worship, people give money for Rath Yatra, but to pay off for child abuse, not many people are enthused to do that. So the temple president was kind of indicating that do it in a way that you kind of build it into your class, right? And Maharaj didn't do that. As soon as he sat in the Vyasthan, he said, this is what's happening, this is the Turley case, this is whatever the millions of dollars that ISKCON has to pay, and this is what their services to the deities and Prabhupada takes in many forms. This is one of the forms. And then he went ahead and gave a class, right? So when you give a class with a hidden agenda, the audience figures it out very, very quickly. Right? And nobody likes to be manipulated. So the audience is very intelligent. They will immediately sense if they are in the middle of somebody else's argument. right? Once a sannyasi came to, it's kind of funny, so I can give the names. Once Navigan Maharaj came to to do a home program, and there was a temple devotee who was driving him, right? And like a small, he was just right out of the Gurukul, and Maharaj kind of asked him that, what is your service at the temple? So the person was just being a little devotee, was being a little frivolous. He said, I am the supreme receiver of all services in the temple. So Maharaj got very upset by that, which was understandable. He shouldn't have spoken like that. And Maharaj was so upset, then the whole class, now he didn't say this conversation happened, but the whole class was on how to deal with senior Vaishnavas, what is the etiquette, etc. All very valid things. But when we were sitting, very quickly we realized that we are a part of a different debate that is happening. We are a part of a different story that is unfolding, right? And then later on, of course, spiritual devotee came and shared this is what happened. So the audiences are very quick to figure it out. That the speaker is having some tension with the temple management, right? And they build it into the class. Or the speaker is having some tension with the pujaris, and they build it into the class, right? And that is the easiest way to lose your audience. So sometimes the agenda creeps in without us knowing it, but then very important for us to be aware of it. The last part of intent is character, right? So this is the hidden curriculum. So in the modern education system, and this is the Western modern education system, all of us have gone through it. Very little of what we learn we retain. Most of us, we study, we write the exams, and then we try very hard to forget it, right? And then we study again, we write the exam, forget it. After that, so whatever we learn, we mostly forget. And whatever little that we remember, very rarely do we apply it for our work, right? So even if your degree and your job is completely aligned, right? My undergraduate is in computer science. I took a job in computer science, but very little is aligned. Now the employers are also aware of it, right? It's not because they have also gone through the same process, but yet they have the stress on education. That person should have a bachelor's degree, master's degree. If he's from an Ivy League, even better. Why do you think? Why are they stressing so much on it?
Because education gives experience of learning and teaching also, and it builds a character basically.
Builds character.
And analytical, how to view things.
Yes. Thank you very much. So it's not what you learn, but the way that you learned it. Right. So when people go through this extensive education experience, they're being taught by people who are commensurately also, they have also gone through the commensurate experience. When you're in college, you're being taught by people who have PhDs and doctors and who have lot of experience. So that is what you are learning, right? So it is said that achara prabhavo dharma, the religious principles arise from proper conduct. Right? Values are caught, they are not taught. So when we see our teachers applying rigor to a particular topic, we may forget what the exact rigor is, but we appreciate the importance of applying rigor. Like when we see our teachers are dealing with the students in a certain way, then we also imbibe that value. there is an author, Larry Shin, and he's not a devotee, but very closely follows ISKCON. Right, he's been following it from 70s, right? So in the 80s, when when Prabhupada left, this whole Zona Acharya system was in, he asked to follow uh, uh, a particular sannyasi. I'm not going to name him for obvious reasons. So he said that, let me follow you so that I can write. He was writing a book. And then he notes that, how the sannyasi would go in, he would give classes in a mood of arrogance. People would ask questions, he would make fun of the people who were asking questions, he would humiliate them. The overall mood was just one of denigration. And in the book, he writes that the future of this movement is not clear if it's going to sustain with this kind of values, right? So more than what you speak, who you are, that is very important. Like so, like I earlier on mentioned, that a lot of what Prabhupada said, people didn't get it. But Prabhupada's success was who he was, the purity that he brought, that the conviction that he brought. Those are things that cannot be taught, but they can be very easily caught. The example of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? When he met in Varanasi, he met Prakashananda Saraswati. So he sat down at the place where people wash their feet. Prakashananda Saraswati says, I do not know what you are going to say, or if I will agree to what you will say, but I think you are a reasonable, respectable person. So the first step this was before Mahaprabhu had spoken anything, right? So the first step in bhakti is Adav Shraddha. The impression that the speaker gives to the audience should be that I think that you're a reasonable, respectable person. Okay? And for that, the speaker needs to work on himself. Right? Now, Mahaprabhu didn't have to work because he's the personality of Godhead, but when we follow the regulative principles, chant the rounds, when we develop this mood of service, even before we have spoken a single word, the audience has already begun to hear us. Right? That Shraddha, that faith is also already is there. I remember there was one speaker spoke with a very, very strong South Indian accent and spoke very softly, almost he would mumble. But just his persona, you would look at him and you would just want to sit down and listen to him. And, in fact, I was fortunate. One of the first times I came to the temple, he was speaking, and I remember that class was on Bhagavad Gita, right? And the way he spoke, I just wanted to get the Gita and read it, right? Not so much in terms of what he spoke, but just because his strong, like he shared how he speaks, he recites the Gita every day himself, and just a very, very strong personal interaction. So, what are the three most valuable words for a teacher? I don't know. Okay, so one should not sit with this. Neither the audience nor the teacher has this assumption that the person who is sitting knows everything. And accepting that I don't know is a big burden off your back. Right? So does anybody in the class know? In the class may have people who are more knowledgeable about it. I do not know, but I will find out. I do not know, but let me think about it. I don't know, but what do you think about it? Okay. So, humility is also accepting the fact that you know what you know and you know what you don't know. Right? That's the quality of a wise person, that they know what they know and they know what they don't know. And ultimately, I don't know, sorry about it. Right. So there are always some questions that you don't even want to know. Like people asking Prabhupada, what is the depth of Pacific Ocean and how many windows are there in the World Trade Center, Empire State Building? Because they don't know. No, that's it. Sorry about it. And just because somebody has asked, you're not obligated to respond to it. But these three words are the most liberating words for a speaker. Now, all of a sudden, you are not the person who is holding, so to speak, the whole universe of knowledge that the audience may want. So you have distributed it to the class, to other people, time, back. What do you think is typical when person sometimes they know the answer, but still they ask the question, and you can figure out, right? So you can always ask them, what do you think? Essentially, they need a platform to speak. So concluding thoughts, remember who we are, right? So there's this movie, Life of Brian. Now, it's a Monty Python movie, and I don't know if any of you have seen it, but it's about this character Brian, and suddenly people start thinking of him as Jesus Christ. He kind of looks a little bit like him, right? So people start thinking of him as Jesus Christ, and wherever he goes, they follow him. He's running away from them. He drops his slipper, and they take his slipper and put it on an altar, and ultimately they crucify him. Also, so it's important for us to know that we are all Brians. We are not Jesus. The moment Brian starts trying to become a Jesus, the outcome is not very, very palatable. Responding to compliments, right? So this is so this obviously comes after the class, but the reason I'm saying over here is that our consciousness determines how we respond to compliments. So what do we do when we get a gift? What is dadati granati? Dadati means you accept a gift. Pratigranati means that you respond with a gift. So how do you respond to compliments? You accept them. And sometimes you say you gave a great class. No, I gave a bad class. At this point was good. No, it was a bad point. So how do you feel if you give somebody a gift and the person simply takes it and gives it back to you? You won't feel good about it, right? So when a person is giving you compliments, then one should not show false humility and say, no, they actually are a much better speaker. Actually, there are so many better speakers, which is all true. There are so many people who are better speakers who can do more justice, but the person is giving you that gift then and there. Right? And the way you reciprocate is that you accept the gift with gratitude. Right? And compliments also contain with them instructions. If somebody says, I like your class, but I particularly like this point you made, right? And then that's an instruction that this is something that you need to focus on more. Recognizing a capacity, right? So how much can you speak? Because speaking is not just about making notes and speaking. Speaking is an immersive activity, right? It draws in all the way from your consciousness to all the levels of your existence, right? From what you What is the spiritual consciousness? What is your knowledge? How do you arrange? How do you actually deliver? How do you deal with what happens after that? So recognize your capacity and act accordingly, act according to that. Perfect example of intent. This is Prabhupada's Markin Bhagavad Dharma. And one of the verses that he writes over here, O spiritual master of all the worlds, I can simply repeat your message. So if you like, you can make my power of speaking suitable for their understanding. So three aspects. Prabhupada says, if you like, right? Completely relying on the mercy of the Lord. Make my power of speaking. So relying on mercy does not mean that one becomes lazy. He's saying, I will make my 100% effort. Third is suitable for their understanding. So mood of service to the audience. So a good class is one that is delivered in such a mood. So recap. So three aspects of giving a class: intent, content, and present. So today we talked about intent. Intent, we said, is divided into 5 parts: mood of service, not about me, humility, agenda, and character. So let me stop over here and see if there's any discussion on it.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I had one question. So you had mentioned at one point that when somebody is sitting on the Vyasasana, then they have the blessings of the whole Guru Parampara with them. And they're on our side, basically. So I was wondering, and you said that if there's something good, the credit goes to them. And if there's something bad, that's also not our responsibility. So that is something that you don't hear very often. Usually they say that, if there is some flaw, it is the flaw of the person who is doing the service. So I just wanted to get some more clarity on that point.
Thank you, Prabhu. So genuine humility cuts both ways. Like if you are genuinely humble and say that I'm doing my best to represent the parampara, that represents the extent to which you can serve. Now, if something does not go well, you can always use it as an opportunity to improve yourself, right? But you can understand that it has not gone well because there's a teaching opportunity for you over here. There's a learning opportunity for you here. What you should not do is say that this did not go well, so I will not give any further classes. Like, so if you own anything that does not go well, it is a covered egoism, right? I have to be I have to be responsible for all for the perfection that is coming, even if you're considering it to be coming from the parampara. It's like they say that Prabhupada actually said that seeking perfection is covered Mayavad, because really speaking, there's only one person that's perfect. So inevitably, there will be classes that will fall flat. Like they will fall because whatever reason, you are not able to read the audience properly, or you did not prepare well, your consciousness was not right. Consider this as an opportunity to do better later on.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Adi Govind, Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Wonderful reminders, Prabhu. And thank you for recording this also. I actually wanted to hear from you in your experience, Prabhuji, of giving lectures for a long time. When we have so much content to cover, um, when is a good time for us to take a break and make it more engaging to the audience? And how long should we keep it engaging and get back to the content? Because, there could be times that I have seen myself being caught in just going on a rush to just cover the content and just speaking forever, and then I see people start to phase out, even though they're there, but their concentration is gone.
It's a very relevant question, Prabhu, and if I can ask you to hold on to it, because this is exactly some of the topics that we'll be covering in the next tour, content and present. We will be, these are the specific areas that we will be talking more about.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you for bringing it up. Kishore?
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. This was so relevant, and I really appreciated your the way in which you presented this. It was very digestible and easy to remember. So, Prabhu, my question is that sometimes we may have a preaching style or proclivity, like we like to speak in a certain way or present things in a certain way that may not align with the audience, the need of the audience, and we may feel nervous or it may be difficult for us to speak in that manner. Like sometimes we speak to audiences where we put Krishna in the background and just say divine, and so how does one align one's own intent with the need of the audience, Prabhu? Is that something that one develops through practice, or is that one can preach in their own style and everything will fall into place?
Thank you, Mataji. Excellent question. So I have a three-part response to that. One is sometimes the best class that you can give is not giving a class. Bhaktisiddhanta was once giving a talk, and he has this way of speaking. He has he has a very elaborate vocabulary. And then as he was speaking, he noticed that people were just walking away. So he immediately stopped, he turned to one of his disciples who was speaking, who has the ability to speak in a more simple way. Right? And he asked him to give the class. Right. So that is one thing. That sometimes the best class is one that you decide that you're not the person to give the class. The second aspect of it is that a successful class is one that is your class. So you have to make the class your own. There is a lot of these tips and tools and techniques, and they're there to help you. But ultimately, it's you. It's your Krishna consciousness, your realizations, your understanding that you're presenting over there. So whatever works for you is the best class. Right. So it may be that so I know when I speak in interfaiths, then there's a little reluctance to use superlatives like the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Instead, the recommendation to just speak God, and so the devotional aspect is kind of put in the background. So if you're able to reason with yourself that this is serving the bigger picture, then you'll find yourself able to do it better. Like it's not necessarily giving up your value system, but it is dovetailing it. And you see, Prabhupada did it, acharyas do that all the time. When Prabhupada spoke to the people from other religions, he did not preach so much about Krishna. He spoke mostly about moral goodness. And you notice he spoke mostly about no meat eating and following the scriptures. Basic. He didn't say that we all have a intrinsic ability to serve Krishna. Right? So keeping the bigger picture in mind. The third point is that if we are presenting in a way that is more palatable, more relishable by the audience, then in a sense we're fulfilling the desires of our parampara, right? So there is no, if you look at various seminars on teaching, etc., there is not a lot of stress on a particular form of a verbiage that always address Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are some religions that have this. They have this lot of this stress on that. But at least in Vaishnava theology, there's not a lot of stress on that. So if you're able to communicate, then know that you're not violating any tenets. Right? In fact, you're satisfying the needs, the desires of the predecessor acharyas.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you so very much for that answer.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Laddu Gopal Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you so much. This was really beautifully structured, and the intent begins way earlier than you taking a class. That means because you are preparing for so many years, you are chanting, you are following regular principles, which builds a character in you, obviously, and that helps to and your service attitude as it increases, the more easier it will be, definitely. But I see the audience is from I've listened some Indian lectures in Hindi and other languages. They are more for people there, the way of preaching is so different, way of taking lectures are very different than what we have learned from you and other here classes in the US. So there is a large difference. I think it's mainly because of the audience, what they're teaching it. So this makes sense to me now.
It is, and so even if you look at the topics that I've given you, depending on the audience, your way of presentation will be different. Right? So if you're speaking to a college crowd, you have to speak a little differently to them. If you're speaking to Bhakti Vriksha, they're all practicing devotees. You speak differently to them. And as you're rightly pointing out, there is regional differences also. Like there is classes in India, they tend to be more, for the lack of a better word, they tend to be more preachy. There's a lot of strong preaching that's going on, and people over there like it. So ultimately, they're serving the people's interests over there. Thank you, Prabhu. Rup Raghunath, Prabhu?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I echo everybody's effect to your class that this is amazing. This is so purifying for us to be, participating, listening, and learning from you. And my question is also on the similar lines that you just mentioned, the relationship between the speaker and the audience. And I was just wondering, when we hear you and you are for us an authority, and we know how to behave and what to ask and how you will respond also, because you have that kind of a maturity, versus, like you said, you'll be speaking in a bhakti vriksha, so your mood will be little different. It's like a peer to peer, so to say, right? And maybe the style should be more collaborative rather than instructional, so to say. So that's where my head was going. And I think in a way you answered that we are not the figure of authority. We have been given this service to spread the message, right? And filling in for you. So I think that should be the mood. Like the humility should be, we are all at the same level. We are sharing a topic and we are learning together, so to say.
Absolutely, Prabhu. Right. That's the mood that I have been given this topic. I spent some time thinking about it, and let me share with you. You know what I've thought about it. What do you think about it? Somebody might contradict you. Somebody might collaborate with you. You know, and both are absolutely fine.
Yep. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. So I see that I violated one of the tenets of giving good classes, which is following the time. And I apologize for that. I will remove that in the slide. I have it on this future slide, and make sure that you follow the time that you have set out for the class. So tomorrow we'll speak about content, and as you'll see, contrary to our natural consideration, the amount of things that we speak reduces. So content is less than intent, and present is less than content there. Because, like I said, if intent is right, content will flow. If content is right, present will flow. I'm going to leave it to you to pick up the topics that you want to speak about. If two people like the same topic, it's okay. We can speak about the same topic also, and prepare for a 15-minute class for that. Okay, so we'll end over here. Thank you so much. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubheva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Anant Koti Vaishnavind ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thai Gaur Premanand.
Hari Hari.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna. Thank you. Thank you so much.